If you want to level up your drum patterns, but you just don't know how to do it, this video is for you. So smash that like button. Let's hop straight into it. So beginners tend to use the wrong type of drums with their drum pattern. So here's a loop we have. And a beginner will normally grab trap drums. If we're talking hip hop, they'll just grab a hard kick, hard snare, and a hard hi-hat. And they'll think that these sounds work with the sample. Now this sample needs a certain snare for it to really feel organic. Okay, so there are two types of drums. You have synthetic drums like trap drums, and then you have organic drums that sound like real snare drums and real kick drums. So if I had a kick and a snare, let's turn the metronome on. The snare in this case is going to go on the 2 and the 4. So if you're confused, turn the metronome on and then go to pattern mode and just count 1, 2, 3, 4. So the snare goes on the 2 and the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, normally people just right click and fill each 2 steps for the hi-hats. So you're getting a bounce like this. Which is not wrong, but something feels off. And that's because you're using the wrong drums. So the first thing you're gonna do, if you do want to keep these drums for whatever reason, okay, what we're gonna do is go to the kick and then go to the wrench tool and add a little time shift. So in most records like this, the bass determines the groove. So if we offset the kick just a little bit off the groove, I'm going to exaggerate so you guys can understand what time shift is doing. We're delaying the kick in its entirety. So if we pull this down just a little bit, it loosens up the groove a little bit and makes it less quantized and computery sounding. This sounds super stiff and boring. So we up the shift. Same thing with the hi-hats. We can go to the wrench tool, turn up the shift just a little bit. And it's gonna loosen up the track because now it's not like ting 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 ting. In real life, real drummers don't go perfectly to the metronome. They just don't. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Now, if you're going like Dilla style or West Coast style, you might even turn up the time shift to where the hi-hats are behind everything. And it creates this like lazy hi-hat. So that alone, just offsetting time, can make your drums sound more cohesive without even changing the drum sample. You can also delay that snare just a little bit. Notice I'm doing this in small increments. So let's duplicate these sounds and show you guys how it goes from a stiff sound to a like loose sound. All right, so on the left side, we have the stiff sound. Actually, I think I copied everything about these. Actually, I was incorrect. I forgot to turn down one value, of course. I thought I had everything right. Okay, so let's turn down all the time shifts. So now we should hear the stiff drums on the left. Very corporate sounding. Let's listen to it one more time through, and then we'll loop the loop. So these are the stiff drums. Now let's hear time offset. Night and day difference. I'm going to run this twice. Hear the stiff drums. Here's that time offset. All right, now I'm going to show you guys another way to get your trap drums to sound more organic, even though they're not organic sounds, is for the hi-hat. In real life, when you play a hi-hat, you go ta, 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 ta. You don't go ta, 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 ta every single time. So let's go to the graph editor in the top right of the channel rack and turn down every other velocity. You don't have to do this, but this is a more realistic way of playing these hi-hats where it's like steady. And we can even change, the range of velocity here. And you can feel that push-pull of the hi-hats simply by changing the up and down volume. Now, if you're really fancy, you can go to the graph editor, go to the time shift tab, and manually add time shift to certain notes. So I like to do this on areas where we have like a snare or something that's an impact sound. So I changed it just for 2 notes. And it just adds that human feel to it. So little details like this, guys, it's all about timing of the notes. Now let's swap these drum sounds for sounds that should be in a drum kit like this. So let's go to busyworksbeats.com, look at the blueprint kit here. Let's go to drum kits, let's go to kicks, and let's look for like the G Unit kick is really good. Let's use this one. Let's drop that in. I'll turn this up a little bit. Now this has a hi-hat in it, so what we're going to do is use the low pass filter to get rid of the high frequency. Now for the snare, I do like the snare texture, but let's try to use a more organic snare. Let's see if Count has any snares we could use. So Count is a famous sound designer. He makes really dope stuff. Now in this case, might be better to use a rim shot sample. Now this sound, because it's like krah, we can delay it even more. Because it's a spread sound, it's not like boom, it's like boom, krah, like that. Let's try this other rim shot. Now let's say we don't want this clink. We can basically shorten the length of the sample here. This is another technique. I just use that rim. We could even fade this out a little bit. Give it a little more volume so it doesn't. There we go. Now we can, to my ear, we can even time shift the snare even more. All right, now let's swap it for a hi-hat. An acoustic hi-hat. Now this has a little time gap in the beginning, which sounds good to my ear, plus our time gap. So some samples have time gaps built into them, and you could trim those out or leave them. I think this sounds better with the time gap in the sample. So let's hear the before stiff trap drums versus the acoustic drums that match this specific performance of a sample. And again, nothing's right or wrong technically. Drums usually define the genre. Hear the stiff drums that aren't offset. Night and day difference. Okay, so these are the small little things you guys can do to make your drums better. Let's run this one more time. All right, guys, so if you love these tips, share with a friend, and go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio to get access to free project files, more free training on FL Studio and drums and how to be a beat maker. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. I'll leave the link below. Peace out, guys.